Hi, my name is Bob Brooks. Today I want to talk to you about habits you need to get out of debt. There's a truism when it comes to money, a truism really when it comes to life. It goes like this: our results are a reflection of our habits. If you want to change the result, change the habits. We talk about the financial habits that lead to financial success on these educational videos, and we talk about saving and investing and tracking all the things that you want to do to have a successful financial future. But if you have bad habits, habits such as living outside of your means, not saving money, not tracking your money, all these things that lead to results that you don't want, it typically goes to debt. That's how debt gets created. And you continue to practice those bad habits and you continue to collect debt, and then you have a problem. And you got to look at today's consumer. Have we really learned our lesson about debt, about consumer debt? I mean, we had the financial crisis, which was a big wake-up call. Let's look at a study by cardhub.com that will really tell us kind of what's going on here. We're on pace to end 2015 with an increase in credit card debt of $68.5 billion. An unbelievable, staggering figure that says America has not changed their habits. Now, if we do this again, repeat this in 2016, this would be over $1 trillion in credit card debt. $1 trillion. It would be up there with student loan debt. Now, I hate to use dated material in these educational videos, but I think this goes to prove a point, is that America still has not gone to good habits. It's almost as if we're building back up to that financial crisis again, because this study also shows, that we're on pace to end 2015 with an average household credit card debt of $8,000. The last time that happened was at the top of the financial crisis. Does this seem like we've really learned anything? Because what happened is we built up all this debt and irresponsible spending, and credit card debt, it peaked in 2007, 2008, and then through defaults it started coming down, and then some people started to change their habits, but then again it starts coming right back up again, and we're back where we were, and a financial crisis did not even change the habits of consumers in America. And of course, the unfortunate thing is that as credit card debt has increased, consumers are paying higher interest rates. This has been a boon for the credit card industry. And this is the kind of situation that we're seeing right now. Now, what ends up happening, and this is why I think people are stuck, I call it the avoidance strategy for getting into more debt. And it goes like this, is that you have these habits, they're not really working for you, but they feel good. They're habits, they're in your comfort zone. You continue to practice those habits over and over. You start accumulating a little bit of debt. You get comfortable with that. Then you accumulate some more. And you're rationalizing all the entire time. I'm going to get this paid off. I'm going to get this paid off. But I need to do this, and I'm living outside of my means. And that debt continues to expand and expand. You get more credit cards, you get more loans, and then you get maxed out, and you get so discouraged, and you avoid looking at it, you avoid dealing with it, and you get to this point to where you live an existence of paying minimum payments. And it just beats you down. I've had more people walk into my office and say, there's probably nothing you can do for me, and I need to see if you can put a game plan together for me. And I got to tell you something. What it comes down to is not being informed, because if you knew the steps that you had to take, you changed your habits, you can correct a debt problem. It is a season. It's not an eternity. It's a season. And I've never come across a debt problem that could not be fixed. And so it's just about getting educated and changing those habits and saying, once and for all, enough is enough. I'm going to get out of this. Now, let's talk about the 4 critical habits it takes to getting out of debt. And I want to point to these habits because these are kind of global, and I'm going to break them down here in a minute and go through each one of them. But the first one is being intentional. You've got to have a strong will to get out of debt. And let me explain to you why. Just think about it for a second. You've practiced these habits, gotten these results year after year after. You've gotten good at these habits that are not supporting you. They're comfortable. If you're going to change those habits, you're going to get out of your comfort zone. That's tough to do. It's tough to get out of your comfort zone when you're used to going through habits over and over and over. It's hard to enter into, or can be hard to enter into personal growth, to do things differently, to do things better, to forego some things that used to give you pleasure that now you're looking at bigger things. The intention is to get out of debt once and for all, and it can be a tough change. So you have to have an iron will when it comes to wanting to get out of debt and being extremely intentional about it. Number two, you got to stay organized. I see this all the time. When we're talking to people, I'll ask them, well, tell me about the debt. Tell me how much you owe, to what credit card company, to what interest rate are you paying, to what payment. Well, I have to get back with you because I'm not really sure. You can't be that uninformed. You have to stay organized. You have to have a system put together, and we'll talk about this, to be able to track it. You have to know exactly where your debt is. You have to proceed the progress of that debt going down. Number three, anticipation. This is a critical element as well, because here's the reality. You've got X amount of dollars coming in. If you want to get out of debt, you've got to pay higher than the minimum payment. So you have to find that money. So you have to have a good cash flow management system to where you can find the money to pay for the extra money to go into paying the debt off. Now, why I say anticipate, because expenses come up. Some things you just can't anticipate. The water heater goes out, you didn't see it coming. But you know that you have to put brakes on the car. You know that you have to put tires on the car. Whatever it might be, you need to be able to anticipate those expenses, because if you're not planning for them, guess where they go? Go to accumulate more debt, which is what we don't want to do. So you have to be the habit of anticipation. Then the habit of tracking. You've got to be able to track the success of what you're doing, of your new habits, of the new techniques and strategies and processes you're going through. And the end result, is it working, so that you know that you have to tweak it maybe. Now, strategy to change your habit. What we're trying to do here, and this is just to give you an idea of how this works, we're trying to establish 4 new habits that you want to master. Now, these are the habits we just talked about, and I'm going to put them into action by showing you a cash flow management system, because this is at the heart of it. If you can't find the extra money through a good cash flow management system, then you're not going to be able to get out of debt. Minimum payments take forever. That's why credit card companies make you pay minimum payments. They want you to stay in debt. That's the business of credit. So it's important to have a good system. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on this system on this video, but if you go watch I Don't Believe in Budgets, I take my boundary planning system, which is my cash flow system, and I go through it detail by detail, step by step, and take you through that. So I would encourage you to go watch that. So the first thing is we want to do, habit 1, hold a weekly meeting to organize and focus on your system. This is the habit of being intentional. This is the one thing you have to be intentional about. Week in, week out, 1 day a week for about an hour, you are going to meet and you're going to go over this and make sure that your system is set up. You're going to establish how you're going to transfer expenses from credit card statements, from bank accounts into your system. You're going to select a system and really work that system to where it's set up to get that information into it. Now, when I say get a system, that could be Quicken is a popular software system, or it could be your own Excel spreadsheet. Now, I'll tell you what, I use an Excel spreadsheet because what I find myself doing with Quicken is running the reports and just kind of glancing over the reports and kind of check the box. Oh, I looked at everything and everything looks great. Instead of getting really detail into it, and that's with the Excel spreadsheet, I have to look at, nothing is automatically downloading. I have to look at the expenses and I have to manually download them. So I'm very, very in tune with, down to the smallest expense, what's being spent. So you set up this system. Now, how long do you run this new habit? Well, I suggest you run it for 3 months, 90 days, 1 quarter. And we're talking about 4 different habits over the period of a year. Now, the biggest mistake that I see people make, and they make it every January 1st. They set out this big, adventurous list of new goals and resolutions, and they just attack it. And what they don't realize is that they have to change habits to make this work. And so they get overwhelmed, and they go, I'm behind. I don't want to do this. And then that's why New Year's resolutions only go for about 30 days, and people forget about them. I mean, think about what were your New Year's resolutions last year? Can you even remember them? So this is important to establish one at a time, because what we're building is a lifelong skill. Just after the first 90 days, you're going to see a drastic improvement. just after the first 90 days, because it's important to be very intentional about setting that meeting. And why I stress that is because if you get behind in the process, if you get behind and then you get real behind, there's the chance, the probability that you're going to give up and say it just didn't work. And so that's why you want to stay very intentional with the process and looking at it and getting in tune with it and downloading those expenses into your system. Habit number 2. So we've got habit number 1 set. We're intentional about meeting, intentional about running the system. Habit number 2 is start tracking and categorizing your spending each week. Now, this is important as well. This is what a very little percentage of America does, is track and categorize their spending. Now, basically what you want to know is how much you're spending, what's your run rate every month, where's that money going? Most people have no idea. I was talking to somebody in my office not too long ago, and she was real concerned about, she's in retirement, was concerned about maybe running out of money. And I said, well, I was looking at her situation, and from what I could tell, she was not even spending what she was bringing in from just first glance. But I asked her, I said, what are you spending each month? She goes, well, I don't know. And I said, well, how do you know that you have a problem if you don't know? So it's important to be able to track and categorize. So what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to set up, and I go over this in that teaching video, the one that says I don't believe in budgets. You set up all your categories and you assign a dollar amount to those categories. So for you're planning on, say your electricity bill is $250. So electricity, $250. You spend $249, let's say, for that month. So you put that into the category, and you can see that that matches up. If you spend more than the category, you got to find where that money's going to come from. But this process, and I once again, I detail it step by step in that video. This process that you go through really helps you find the extra money, because what it shows you, where you spend your money is where you value. We talk a lot about this in that video. It's all about value-based spending. So you may value eating out, but you now say, but you know what, eating out is going to go down on my value list. Getting out of debt is going to go up here. That discretionary spending, all that's going to go down. Getting out of debt, it's a season, I'm going to get knocked out, and that's where that extra money is going to go. So this is the habit of organization. Number 3, this is the habit of anticipation. Start anticipating and planning for future costs. What I always recommend for people to do is set up a separate page and just list all of the different expenses that they think could come up, so they're not caught by surprise. So list, the new brakes for the car, a home repair that you can put off for about 2 or 3 more months, but probably not advisable to do so beyond that. So how are you going to prepare for it? Because remember, the whole idea is not to get caught by surprise. When we get caught by surprise, and it will happen, it's just the way life is. When we get caught by surprise, we're not ready for it. And if we're not ready for it, we go back and increase debt, because that's how we pay for it. So the whole idea is not to increase the debt, it's to decrease the debt. So you want to become great at anticipation. Then habit 4, track your progress. This is the habit of tracking. And you want to know that your system's working. You want to know that you're successfully finding extra money. And you know what it may be? It may be that you have to go get a part-time job for a season to get out of this debt. But if you're intentional about it, that's not going to be a problem, and will be something you can easily do, because the motivation behind it will push you to do it. But tracking that debt, watching the debt balances go down, that's extremely important. And I talk about in one of my other videos about how to go about the best way to get out of debt and how to organize that. That's why these teaching videos, they all go together. It's very important to watch them so that you can see the tie-in. And the themes that tie all these in are the same as well. One other thing, too, I want to mention that I didn't with habit 1 is that if you're looking for a system, you want to try the Excel spreadsheet. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If you send me an email at bob@prudentmoney.com, I'll send you a copy of this Excel spreadsheet. It's free with instructions on how to use it. It's worked for me, and I think it would work for you as well. Habits you need to get out of debt. The thing you've got to remember when it comes to getting out of debt, and this is why I think that the American consumer today, unfortunately, is not going to do this, because it takes personal growth. It takes changing bad habits that didn't support you, and developing them into habits that do support you, habits that will help you lead a great financial life. But it takes you out of your comfort zone. But the good news about that is that you get personal growth, develop habits that will ensure financial success.